Anna, can you hear me? I see her twitch every time I call her name, but she doesn't seem bothered enough to answer. I can see new scars on her hands, and her eyes won't move from the cuts and scratches that she has on her wrists. Anna, I try again. This is the fourth appointment we had that you seem uncooperative, and you know what this means. I mean she has to go to isolation again. She hates it there, and the moment she hears that word, her eyes drift away from her hands and onto my eyes. Her stare feels invasive in some way, but I've dealt with so many patients before. I'm starting to get used to their eyes. It's always their eyes that freak people out here. Some of them seem so full of hatred and feelings that they can't control. Some of them seem so empty. I'm not going back there, she hissed at me. I don't want you to go there either, but you leave us with no choice. You can't heal if you won't talk to me, I say and sit next to her. What's left to say? You never believe me anyway, she says and looks away. She seems like she's feeling guilty of something. Why don't we start with your hands? I noticed there are new cuts there. I thought we talked about that, and you seem very willing to try the alternative methods to cutting I told you about. I'm telling you, I didn't do this, she almost yelled this time. I can't talk to you if you won't believe me, you moron. Fine. Why don't you tell me again who did this to you? I ask her as I get up and sit on my chair across from her. I like to notice her when she says her stories. It makes me understand if she believes she's telling the truth and what part is the hardest for her. I always notice that she starts off okay, but when she gets to the last part, she seems on edge and she even starts to yell. There were a couple of times we had to sedate her, unfortunately. I told you, it's him. It's that shadow. He's everywhere, she says and looks down. She always has that look when she refers to him. It's like she knows that what she's saying sounds off, but she believes it and she wants me to believe her too. Is he here right now? Is this shadow with us now? I ask her. He's always here, don't you get it? He's fucking with my mind. It started by something stupid. Like, I'd wake up in the middle of the night by loud thuds on a window, and at first I thought it was the branches from the trees because it was windy, but it kept going on even when there was no wind that caused that. He keeps me up at night, and I hear him whisper outside my window. At first I could only hear words like, cut and bleed, please. But soon he started to yell at me to let him in. I couldn't make him shut up. He's fucking talking to me all the time and his rotten mouth won't close. I tried everything I could to make him go away, but no one would believe me. He would whisper every night all the things he wanted to do to me. He said he wanted to cut me open and eat my intestines. He loved the taste of my blood, and he wanted to paint my bedroom walls with that. He said he was a true artist. He wouldn't shut up about it. Every night, he'd wake me up at 3:03 in the morning, and he whispered to me with his vile voice. And then he yelled and begged me to let him in. He said he wanted to touch me. He said he wanted to play with me. I couldn't take it anymore, so I told him to come in. His every touch would burn my skin. I could even smell it. I could feel my skin blister as he touched me and made me crawl for him. His sharp nails would dig into my skin and the blood would drip from the floor, and he'd make me lick it. I yelled and cried as he laughed and told me that I would never escape him because he was a shadow. He was my shadow. He still wouldn't shut up, and his words were scratching my brain, and I had to let him out. She started to seem panicky and at edge now, and her eyes were red. She was trying to hold back tears. Anna, that's enough for today. We could meet at Thursday again if you're well enough for another meeting, I said, but she wouldn't listen. He wanted to get inside me, he said. He wanted to make more out of me. I felt him inside of me. I felt his evilness filling me up, and I knew there was no turning back. It would grow bigger and bigger. She pointed at her stomach. And I could feel something evil kick and bite my insides. I felt razor-sharp nails scratching my skin, and I would feel sick all the time. More shadows into this world. That's what he wanted. And I had to kill him. Don't you see? I couldn't let another shadow come to life. So one night, as he was sleeping next to me, I reached for his knife and cut it open. Just like I thought. There was something evil inside of me. It looked like a monster. It was pink and covered in blood and something disgusting. He didn't like it. He wanted to have more evil shadows, so he hit me, but I slit his throat. I hit him before he managed to get up, and I slit his throat. He was bleeding and cursing that pig. I was covered in blood. God, there was so much blood. So much blood. She was starting to yell the last sentence over and over again, so I knew that she couldn't continue the session. She was anxious and she was biting whatever she had left of her nails, but I had to ask some final questions. She had never gone this far with her story. Anna, what happened to the shadow? There was so much blood and he painted himself red and got inside me. He's everywhere. He's inside my skin. He's inside my head, my thoughts. He's there when I look in the mirror. He's all I see. What do you do when you look at a mirror? Do you see yourself? I asked and pushed the button for the nurse to come in and take her. I knew that soon she would want to return to her room. I only see a shadow. I don't see Anna anymore. He won't let me return her anymore. His words burn and his voice itches my skin. I have to let him out now. I have to let him go, she screamed. There's so much blood, she said one time. She looked at her mutilated arms and started scratching her hands again. I nodded to the nurse to take her back to her room and told her to restrain her tonight. Anna has been my patient for a year now, and her case was one of the hardest ones. She came to us after she escaped. She had been abducted when she was 14, and she was held captive for 3 years where she was repeatedly raped until she could have a baby. When she got pregnant, she cut herself open, removed the fetus, and then she killed the guy who had abducted her. She always said the same story, and I think that now she truly believes it. She really believes that she was taken by a monster, although the man who did this to her was nothing more than a monster. And unfortunately, her recovery doesn't seem hopeful.